Welcome, and we'll start off with our bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
And I had to look up every one of these particular types of curses that are mentioned here in the Hebrew, and hopefully doing an okay job on this. So, Yakhe Hashem, the Lord will smite you, b'shachefet, with consumption or wasting away. There are other interpretations of this. And somebody, I think we'll take a look at the Rashi. He has a different take on it. Let's put it this way. None of these things are pleasant, right? Uva kadachat, and with a fever, uva daleket, and with raging fever. So these are, the word delek, right, is right in there. And I believe delek these days might be the modern Hebrew word for gasoline, right? Uvecharchur, with delirium, uvecherev, and with the sword, uveshidafon, and with the blast. In other words, like wind coming, strong winds. We've dealt with that in California for sure. And of course, you have that over in the Midwest as well. Uveyerakon, and this has to do with mildew, something like that. Yarok, we discussed this in our previous lesson. Generally, Yarok is translated as green, but here it's sometimes translated as yellow. Either way, again, it's got to do with mildew. Urdafucha ad ovdecha, and they will pursue you until you experience annihilation. And here we go with the Rashis. Beshachefet. So, shebisaru nishchaf v'nafuach. So here we had talked about it being consumption or wasting away. Well, certainly on a broader level, right? That his flesh nishchaf blisters v'nafuach and is swollen. Uvekadachat, right? And again, we've got to do with temperature here. Lashon, this is a term. There's an example in Deuteronomy 32. Ki esh kadcha ba'api, right? For fire sears my nostrils. Here it referred to, I believe, blazing anger, we'd say. Vahu esh shel choli, and it's the fever, the heat, the fire of illness. And here's the French word, which I obviously don't recognize, balaz. He gives you the French term, but here's the Yiddish, and the Yiddish is fever hitzt, meaning the heat of fever. Shehi chamamaod, which is extremely high. Uvedaleket, the next term. So this is, I think it says ama or chama. It is hot, or hotter your tear. It is hotter mi kadachat, from kadachat, umine chalaim heim. And we are talking here about various types of illness. Charchur, holy. This is an illness. Hamechamamo toch haguf, which heats him, makes him hot within his body, in the sense v'tzameh tamid, so that he's always thirsty, lamayim, for water, uvelaz, and again he gives you this French term. Uh, I don't know exactly the way in which they're taking the Hebrew and making it into French. So, I mean, to me, it looks like aslin mont, and in Yiddish, right, brent, meaning burning. Lashon, this is the term, is example in Job 30. V'atzmi chara mini charev, right? Or atzamai chara mini charav, and my bones are parched from heat. Jeremiah 6. Nichar mapuach ba'esh. I'm going to guess, right? Mapuach are the bellows, and nachar is shriveled from the fire. Next term, uvecherev, and the sword. Yavi alecha gayasot. Troops are going to attack your country or attack you. Uveshidafon uveyerakon, right? So these terms, makot tfu'ah, these are plagues or these are diseases of produce, shebasadot, that are in the fields. Shidafon is ruach kadim, is an east wind, which apparently there was a very hot, strong wind. And here's again the French word, asilda, something like that, balaz in French, in this language. Yiddish, Sonnenverbrand. So sun burning, something like that, right? That's at least what the Yiddish would indicate. Right? So just such staggering heat that it destroys the crops. Yerakon, so in the Sfaria, they translated, the version in Sfaria translates this as yellowing. Yovesh, right? It dries up. Upnei hatfu'a machsifin, and the surface of the produce becomes pale. V'ner pachim leyerakon, excuse me, and they become mildewed, right? And here is his French word. Again, I don't see an English equivalent to that word, balaz, and he says gelb. Gelb in Yiddish would mean yellow. Ad ovdecha, right? I believe it's that. I want to make sure I'm yes, ovdecha, until you are consumed or annihilated. Tigum, the Aramaic is ad te tevad, until you are lost, something like that. Klomar, that is to say, ad ibud otcha, okay, shet tikale me'alecha. So it says what he's doing is he's trying to deal with the grammatical form of this, right? In other words, until you experience loss, that is to say that you are consumed automatically, that you yourself are consumed, not from, in other words, these things are happening to you and you yourself are just consumed, annihilated. They are curses, they without any question, right? Okay. V'hayu shamecha, and the heavens, asher al roshcha, that are over your head, nechoshet, brass, copper, something like that. V'haaretz, and the land, asher techtecha, and the land that is underneath you, barzel, will be iron. So, here we go. V'hayu shamecha asher al roshcha nechoshet, right? The heavens above over your head will be brass. Let's make sure I have the right place. Yes. Klalot halalu, these curses, Moshe mipnei atzmo amran. So Moses said them on his own. He is the one who uttered these particular curses. The Shebahar Sinai, but those that were mentioned at Mount Sinai, those are in the last portion of Leviticus, right? We read curses there. Mipi HaKadosh Baruch Hu Amran. So they were stated directly from the mouth of God, right? The Holy One, blessed be He, stated them. Kamash Ma'an, right? Just as they mean, as they say. Visham Ne'emar, and in that particular case, right there it's stated in Leviticus chapter 26, Ve'im lo tishma'uli, right? So notice, if you, plural, won't hearken to me, Ve'im telchu imi keri, and if you walk with me, again, plural, in an insincere way, right? V'kan, and so that's how it's stated there. But here, here it states, quote, L'kol Hashem Elokecha, okay, it says, to the voice of the Lord your God, and Elohecha is singular. Otherwise, it would be Elohechem. Yidbak Hashem bach or bacha, the Lord will cling to you or cause to cling to you. Again, it's bacha or bach, meaning you singular and not you plural. That would be bachem, right? Yakcha Hashem, right? So the Lord will strike you. And again, it's singular. So the point that Rashi's going to make here is that back in Leviticus, the curses are stated in the plural to the plural group, but here they're stated singularly to a single person. Hekel Moshe b'kalalotav, Moses wanted to lighten up his curses, le'omram, to state them balashon yachid, using the singular. V'gam ken b'klala zo, and with regards to this particular curse, right, where he said the heavens would be brass and the earth would be iron, right? Hekel, right, he also made this curse a little lighter than the one in Leviticus. Shibarishonot, because in the earlier curses, who Omer, there it states, et shmeichem kabarzel, your heavens like iron, the artzachem also, not shmeichem, your plural, right, la iron, as iron, the artzachem kenachoshet, and or nechusha, and your land like brass. Shelo yu hashamayim. So in that case, if the heavens are like iron and the earth is like brass, shelo yu hashamayim mezi'in, because that in this case the heavens would not perspire. That's what lazia means. But of course, it means wouldn't give any rain at all. Kederech, just as ein habarzel mazia, just as iron does not sweat, it doesn't perspire. Umitoch kach, and in this way, yehei chorev ba'olam, there would be drought in the world. Va'aretz tehei mezia, but the earth would perspire. In other words, there would be moisture coming from the earth. Kederech shahanachoshet mezia, just as brass perspires or sweats. Vehi markevet peroteha, and that moisture rots the fruit. But here, Hu Omer, he says, Shamecha nechoshet, your heavens are brass, va'artzacha barzel, and your land is iron. Shehiyu shamayim mezi'in, right? That the heavens should perspire, they should give some moisture. Afalpi, despite the fact, shelo yariku matar, that they won't actually be pouring down water or rain. Mikol makom, nevertheless, lo yeh chorev al shel ibadon. There should not be the kind of let's see, ba'olam. I'm trying to see. Okay. So what he's saying is there shouldn't be a complete loss. Abadon is complete. Chorev, I'm going to guess, is sorry, because I didn't happen to look up this word. Lauren, if you have it handy, I will take it from you. I'm sorry, I missed this one.
Um,
I mean, it could
I
be
don't
dryness.
see,
Dryness, maybe. Chorev would be
yeah,
dryness.
I don't see anything about a complete loss.
Okay, well, Abadon is a loss.
Okay, wait a minute, I have to go back up. Consuming drought in there will not be consuming drought in the
That's what it
world?
would be. That's what it means. Right, right.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. Good. Ba'olam, in the world, that's exactly what it means. Right. Consuming drought. Ba'olam, v'ha'aretz, and the earth, lo tahei mezia, and the earth would not perspire, kederech she'ein habarzel mazia, just as iron doesn't perspire, doesn't sweat. Ve'ein ha'perot markivin, and so the fruit wouldn't rot. Umekom makom, but nevertheless, klalahi, it's still a curse. This isn't exactly what you're looking for either. It's less of a curse than the one in Leviticus, than the language in Leviticus for two reasons. One is that it's given to the singular in the singular sense. It's not all consuming to every single person, but there might be exceptions given the way Moses is saying it. On the other hand, Leviticus sounds pretty universal, and the second way is the way in which the there'd still be drought, but less so. And the other hand, whatever fruit you do have on the ground won't be rotting, according to Moses, where it does in Leviticus. Klalahi, it's nevertheless a curse. Bein shehi kenechoshet, bein shehi kebarzel. Whether the heavens are like brass or whether they are like iron, lo totzi perot. It's not going to produce fruit. V'chein hashamayim lo yariku matar, and likewise the heavens won't pour out rain. Let's go back here. Gitain, will give Hashem. So the Lord will make et matar artzacha, the rain of your land, avak, dust, va'afar, and sand. Min hashamayim, from heavens, yered alecha, it will come down on you, ad hishamdach, until again it destroys you. Matar artzacha avak va'afar, right? The rain of your land, dust and earth or soil. And this is in Tractate Tanit. Zika devatar matra. So Zika is a kind of possibly it's certainly something damaging after the matra would be the rain. Matar, so in other words, some damage that's going to happen after the rain. Matar yored, the rain falls. Velo kol tzorcho, but not as much as you need. Ve'ein bo kedei laharbitz et ha'afar, and it's not enough to clump the soil. V'haruach ba'a, and or it does mean to soak, probably it isn't enough to soak the soil. V'haruach ba, and the wind comes, uma'ale et ha'avak, it raises up the dust, umachase et esev hazraim, and it covers the herbs of the plants, shehein lachim, which are damp, min hamayim, from the water, v'nigbach bahem, so this dust, this earth or soil is clinging to them, v'ne'esa tit, and it becomes mud, but mumit yavesh umarkivan, and then it dries and causes them to rot. So a zika is actually a wind. So let me mark that in. Let's see where it is. Zika, right. So I am going to, again, this is such pleasant stuff. I am going to stop here and we will, God willing, meet again tomorrow and go on further. And eventually, hopefully, we will get to the end of this. Okay. All right. Judith, hi. Any other comments before we stop the recording?
No, thank you.
Okay, I know. Yes, Harlan, did you want to ask a question or make a comment?
Yeah, just a question. How come they don't? God didn't make the 10 plagues to them too? That's also bad.
You mean this isn't bad enough, Harlan? You're not
that's right.
satisfied with how bad this is?
Yeah, I know. You're right. It's not bad enough. Oh my God! What? My other question is what in modern times are we cursed? How are we cursed in modern times? if we don't obey God?
Well, I don't know that I want to answer that question, but certainly there are floods in Eastern Europe these days, I believe, that are going on. The point is that people don't want to look at the universe and their world in this particular kind of way. So clearly, we are having some very serious stuff happening. There's no question about climate change, and that climate change is coming about because of how human beings are looking at their relationship to the world, and feel they can use the world in any way they like.
Yeah, but God said you should keep the world clean. That's what I put you on the earth for.
So, Harlan, how many people don't believe in God these days, don't have that kind of vision and take on the world?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So a lot of people feel that believing in God is nonsense. We even had that one guy, I haven't seen him lately, who goes on TV and advertises how he's an atheist. So,
Oh,
right. No, it's got to do with a deeper way of looking at one's relationship to this world and really asking very seriously the question, why have we come into this world? And seeing that as not only a legitimate question, but perhaps the most important question we can ask ourselves. What are we here to accomplish? So, yeah, thank you for raising it. But as far as why not the 10 plagues, there are many more than 10 plagues going on here. And again, if you go back to the 10 plagues, the idea was to try and clarify, and I think in some ways it's also to clarify who was really in charge, right? And also it was also a punishment. I mean, pick your poison. So the idea really always is to give, in some ways, and if I could, maybe the best answer I could give you to this question is that the 10 plagues were perhaps took place in the course of a year. They were relatively fast because of the need to release the Israelites from slavery. These particular plagues were played out, I think, in the hopes that, in fact, the Jewish people, in this case, because that's who they're directed at, would in fact do tshuva, would in fact understand that if they didn't change their behavior, it was only going to get worse. And of course it does. And ultimately it leads to exile, which is mentioned. And of course that all happened. We know it happened. So, okay, let me stop the recording here.